All right. Hey, Alex, how's it going? Okay, so let's see. Join here. All right, guys, the call's it's going to start real soon. It's already 1 o'clock. Just close some unnecessary tabs here. Okay. I'm just going to let few people, others join here, and then I'll get started going through list building and how to do it. It's going to be quite a wild ride. There's quite a few different flows I'm going to be talking about. I won't be able to cover everything in super detail, unfortunately. I'm sure that there will be we'll want a lot more detail for certain topics, but it's just I can't cover them all within a lot of detail. I have a couple planned within a good amount of detail, but yeah. Okay, so let me share my screen and then we'll get started. All right, guys, so the big topic this week is going to be building list. So essentially kind of list building in general is just something that I would say is really important to at least understand. And there's many ways to go about it. And in this kind of webinar, I'll be focusing on kind of two main points that you guys can work on, which is, well, not really work on, but I'll show you guys 6 different ways of actually building a list. And then we're going to go cover a couple different of those ways in a little bit more detail, right? There will actually be flows kind of for those ways. And then the other ones, example would be like insert cards and maybe even influencers. I won't be able to go in an immense amount of detail just because like that's kind of a topic all on its own. So that's the weekly topic. Okay, so just kind of the housekeeping rules here. So if you guys have any questions, kind of, post them in the chat. I'll be sure to get to it. Calls run about an hour long. Lately, I've been noticing that we tend to run a little over that, so just keep that in mind. If we ever do unmute you, just try not to share any sensitive information. So far, I haven't actually done that in any of the webinars, but at some point, maybe we'll end up doing that where, we have some questions and then we just want to say, okay, well, here, ask us the question or give us a certain scenario, and then we could try to best answer that. That's essentially it kind of for the housekeeping. I mean, there's not too much there. Okay, before we get into the main topic, do you guys have any questions you would like to ask as of right now? I see Troy joined as well.
Yep, I'm here. Hey, Tyler.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good.
Awesome.
This is an important topic, so I'm excited to
Yeah,
get into
well,
it today.
there's quite a few different pieces here. Something that I don't see too many people talk about. It's just like, oh, let's just do Facebook ads, and then that's the bulk of it. I don't see any kind of questions come up. So do we want to give it a little bit more time or should we just kind of jump in?
Well, I can add just a few more little housekeeping things. I noticed a few new folks who've joined us. I want to encourage you, if you know somebody who is interested in more advanced strategies, ManyChat, a lot of the stuff that we cover, feel free to share this webinar with them. We are encouraging and focusing on Seller.Tools users to give them a really solid competitive advantage. But as that question has popped up with it being a little more exclusive, we want to make sure that folks that do attend are willing to and able to go ahead and share it if they would like. So if any sellers come to mind, folks in your network, team members, people that you want to onboard to these strategies, Tyler dives right into it. So what may be missed is that he works alongside clients that do tens of millions of dollars, even on the profit side, not just on the revenue side. So we're talking very successful brands, how they use some of these strategies, and how they do so effectively. So Tyler is a real pro, And this is a great opportunity to get your questions answered, but also see what he's doing right now, what's working right now on ManyChat and really beyond. What
Mhm.
works on Amazon, right? We just ManyChat and Seller.Tools is really just a tool to achieve that outcome. So, but that's all I had, Tyler. So
Okay.
if that covers it, glad to throw it over to you for what
Yeah,
you've
I
got
think
ready.
yeah, that covers it quite well. I didn't see any kind of questions pop up, so I'm assuming that nobody's got any questions. We're just gonna kind of jump into this and go into it. So essentially, kind of what list building is essentially getting users to interact with your ManyChat bot and then gathering some information about them, whether that be email, SMS, maybe you capture the one-time notification. Um, Instagram's opening up with automation now, so that's kind of a way of communicating with them. At some point, maybe WhatsApp will come out. I don't think that one will be nearly as big as Instagram, but anyways, so just kind of gathering that information, right? Like that's what list building really is. It's just capturing customers slash users information, whether that be an email or SMS or even Messenger in a way. Messenger is kind of like a soft capturing because you're just getting them to interact with your bot. But you can, of course, then capture some information with that. So that's kind of the main thing of is list building is like just capturing their information. And this is something that's like it's like kind of what real brands do is like they really want to build a real list that's going to engage with their brand and not just be the quote unquote Amazon sellers where it's like, okay, we have a product, we're just going to, I guess, rank or do XYZ, get reviews. And that's kind of the only interactions we're going to have with the customers. There's kind of two, I guess, essentially list buildings. There's the Amazon brands, is what I would call it. And then there's the real brands. And essentially, the difference is between an Amazon brand and a real brand is that Amazon brands are just kind of focused on ranking and reviews. And that by no means is a bad thing. I mean, that's obviously the name of the game on Amazon. But a real brand is more focused on like really engaging with their customers, getting feedback, building rapport with them, making the customer experience as best as possible. And that's kind of like the two differences between them. How you go about those two kind of things is entirely up to you. I just wanted to differentiate that. So essentially, you're just capturing information, and how you do it is up to you. I'll be going into 6 different methods of how to do that. So understanding how to use and how to, manage the audience is really, really important. And we actually do have a recording on internal giveaways. And this is where I kind of cover how to, you know, do internal giveaways, how to manage it, how to manage your list within ManyChat. So I'm going to send this inside the chat. This time I'm not just going to send it to Troy because I've been doing that apparently. So this should go to everybody. And essentially in this webinar, I just go into kind of what list management is, how to use it, how to utilize it, how to like broadcast your list in a smart, effective way to run rebate giveaways instead of just broadcasting it to your entire audience. So instead of just rehashing on this entire thing, because without this core piece, which is one of the reasons why it was one of the first topics I covered inside these weekly webinars, without this core piece, everything else kind of doesn't really make sense. Like list building doesn't matter as much because it's like, oh, if I don't know how to use the list, then what's the point of having one? So I would highly recommend if you haven't already watched internal giveaways, that webinar, and if you don't really understand what it is, then obviously take a look at that. I'll still go into like list building and then you could watch it afterwards or whenever you want. But this is a really core feature of understanding like how to use your list. Because again, if you're not understanding how, then there's no point in even building one. Okay, the next things. So this is basic ways you can actually build a list. So the first one is just kind of Facebook ads. This is just the regular, like run-of-the-mill kind of Facebook rebate ads. They've been working for a long period of time, and they'll probably still continue to work with some success. Over time, they've been, I would say, less and less effective, but they're still a great way to kind of kick things off. It's not my preferred way of doing things, but again, it's still one of the easier ways of doing things. Now, refer a friend, which I will have kind of templates afterwards for this, is essentially just like after the rebate process or after the sign up process, or really anywhere you want. You might have to edit scripts to match whatever your goals are there, but is asking somebody, hey, we're still looking for product testers, or hey, we're still looking for XYZ. Do you have any friends that you have in mind to refer to us? And then essentially it gives them a ref URL or the option to forward a card, which is just like a fancy way of saying forwarding a message to users. And that basically gets your audience to help you build an audience, right? So that's obviously really, really powerful because it's an easy way for you to just get more leads with the leads you have. Of course, this doesn't actually just build leads from nowhere. You have to have some type of leads coming in. But I've noticed this is like really, really successful doing it after they've received their rebate, right? So like a certain amount of hours afterwards, or right after they receive that rebate message, you say, hey, we'd love you to refer somebody, and then they would have the option to do that. Not everybody's obviously going to refer somebody, but if you get a couple people referring somebody, I remember in I think it was 2019, we weren't really doing it was one of the few flows that I started off with making, and I was like, oh man, this is could be really, really good. And I remember one of the clients I was working with, we were doing rebate giveaways, and that's one of the things we did. And I remember, that it was a girl, she had an Instagram account, and you only had 500 followers or something, not something too ridiculous, but she started referring people. And at the time we didn't really have limiters and all that set like we do now. And we had to turn off the rebate giveaway because there was too many people coming in from her referring her small little list. But it didn't really matter that she had a small list. She had a very engaged amount of people that were following her, right? So I think there was 100 or so, 150 around that joined. I have a lot of other cases here, but unfortunately I didn't take screenshots of all the use cases. But referring a friend is just so simple to set up that it's almost not worth it's worth doing. Okay, so enough about referring friends. So the next one is using an existing email list. Now this one might seem fairly obvious, but unfortunately not every seller can do this because they may not already have an existing list, which is fine if you don't. It's one of the options you can do. But essentially using the existing list is so if you have, say, 5,000, 2,000, whatever it is, you'd essentially ask those users, hey, we're about to launch this product. Would you like to join our, rebate giveaway or club? Or, hey, we're about to launch this product. Would you like to participate in our rebate giveaway? And then you give them a ref URL, which is just a clickable link, and then they would engage with the bot, sign up to it, and then you run internal giveaways. Again, this is all kind of running around the fact that you're going to be probably running internal giveaways at some point. So I think it was the second last webinar from today, or from this recording, we ended up covering sign-up flows. So here's actually a link that going over kind of that, kind of what sign-up flows are, how to use them, and so on. So I'll just be pasting that in as well. So again, the way I've been structuring these webinars is to just make it so it kind of stair-stepping you guys towards the things I think are really, really important. And then we're going to get into more and more advanced features as we go through these kind of weekly webinars. But it's just important for you guys to have kind of the structure of things, right? So sign-up flows is obviously very important to understand in order to run then internal giveaways. Internal giveaways is obviously important to understand, so that way you're able to use your list. Okay, so let's keep going here. So running Facebook ads, I'm going to go over kind of the pros and cons here. And I'm not really pro Facebook ads. I don't particularly enjoy them, so I might have a little bit of a bias here. So just keep that in mind. And I'm not going to be able to go into how to set up a Facebook ad, and this is what you click, this is how you open up an ads manager and all that. There are a lot of different YouTube videos out there going over how to set up, Facebook ads and how to manage the ads accounts and so on. And I don't think it would be the best use of my time to just go over that. So the pros of it, it's very simple to set up. Once you start understanding the back end of Facebook, and it's fairly simple. I mean, it's not simple when it's your first time, but if you've had any experience kind of running Facebook ads somewhat, compared to all the other methods, it's fairly simple to set up. It's easy to scale. All you have to do is really raise the budget. So if let's say you're doing, I don't know, 5 rebates a day, and then you want to do 10 rebates, then chances are all you need to do is raise the budget, whatever 2 times it is already. So if it's $10 a day, then you do $20 a day. And that theoretically would give you the amount of sales you're looking for. So it's fairly easy to control the gas pedal essentially, right? So if you're driving a car, it's if you want to accelerate, then you just hit harder on the gas pedal. If you want to slow down, you just let go of the gas, or put the brakes on, either way. The cons of it is you're not going to get the ideal buyers, which is really, really important. just due to the fact that Facebook's algorithm, the way it works is that it's optimized for users that are going to click that advertising. And unfortunately, the kind of rebate slash free products, those attract kind of the deal seekers, the non-desirables. Um, so again, it doesn't attract the best of buyers. It's not in all cases. You can obviously optimize your Facebook advertising, like the targeting, to make sure that you're hitting the right buyers. But again, it's a little hard to do with Facebook just because of the way their algorithm is placed, where it's optimized for clicks and not really ideal buyers. The next thing is it's not the most reliable and consistent way. I know the pro was like it's scalable. I just said it's scalable, but it isn't the most reliable in terms of like consistent traffic. Like example is like if you're running, let's say Facebook advertising and you're doing $10 a day, and that's getting you, we'll say 5 sales every day. Maybe at day 4 or 5, you might notice like, oh, I'm not getting my 5 sales anymore. I'm only getting 2 or 3. And I never touched the budget at all. So like, why is that happening? And again, that Facebook ads tend to fall off a little bit unless they hit a certain engagement rate, because that's kind of how the auction works in the back end of Facebook's advertising. So it's not the most reliable way of getting consistent traffic. Like internal giveaways is, in my opinion, quite a bit better because you can be consistently messaging X amount of people and it's fairly consistent. Obviously, there could be mixed results. Like let's say you message 20 people, those 20 people might be really engaged at that moment, and then maybe tomorrow or the next day they won't be. So there is a little bit of inconsistencies with even internal giveaways, but I would say it's much more reliable than Facebook advertising. The next thing is that it can get fairly expensive. I've seen this with a lot of different kind of products. Some products, it goes really well. Some products, it just does not. I find I call them like Facebook products. If they're really kind of, I guess, gadgety or unique, something that's not like super vanilla, like a spatula or something, then it'll do quite well on Facebook, or even high ticket products too. Those ones tend to do well on Facebook as well. But the really kind of vanilla products, like a spatula, for example, those ones there are just, it's kind of hard to run advertising because users, even though it's a free product, it's like they might already have one and they don't particularly want to like get another one, even if it is free. So that kind of advertising can be very expensive because you're going to be paying so much cost per click because you're not going to get that many clicks. And it doesn't cost per click, it's really cost per impressions. So if like, I don't know, let's say you get 10 clicks out of 1,000 impressions, it's going to cost you the same if you were getting 100 clicks out of 1,000 impressions. So that's kind of why it makes it seem like the cost per click is super high, even though Facebook doesn't actually charge you per click. They charge you per million, which is just like saying per thousands of views per impression. Okay, Facebook can ban your account at any time. Now, this is something I see quite often, and I'm sure quite a few of you could probably relate in the chat, where they just, maybe they're having a bad day or something, I don't know. But Facebook can just kind of ban your account for basically no reason. I'm not going to pretend like they never have a good reason to ban people, but it feels like a lot of the time it's just like their algorithms are kind of running without check, and then they just ban a whole bunch of people, and then reactivating your ads account is kind of a pain, just due to the fact that they have probably one of the worst support systems in terms of like all the big tech companies. So those are the cons. Again, I'm not a pro Facebook ads person. I'm sure some of you guys may have had great results. Some of you guys might not have as many great results, but again, I'm not too big into Facebook advertising, but I know that is the kind of mainstream, the main way of getting users to opt into your flow because it is the simplest. I'm just going to read the chat here. Have you tried using Instagram placements? So Instagram, I have used it a little bit. We've noticed it's a little bit better in terms of getting people to kind of sign up through there. It's kind of dependent though, because I've had good success with it, and then I've also had like meh results as well. So, but I would say at a balance of probabilities, Instagram is going to be a better platform than Facebook, in terms of like getting people, at least as of right now. And I think that will continue to happen over time. But so that's okay. So using a refer a friend to sign up. So here's the template, guys. I'm going to give you guys the link for it. And I'm actually going to be editing this sometime in this presentation, like later down the line. And I'll go over kind of how to edit this, how to put it inside your rebate giveaway flows. Let me just give this in the chat here. So again, you guys can edit this, or you guys can install and edit this today and put this inside your rebate giveaway flows. And if you really want, like if you don't like the way I built it, that's fine. You can just take some of my ideas and then make your own version. Again, these are templates, so you guys can customize it any way you see fit. So referring a friend is basically useless unless you're already getting leads in. And I think I've explained that a little bit, just because you can't refer somebody that you don't already have. So like essentially you need to have some way of bringing in traffic. So if you're using Facebook ads, then this is a good way to supplement kind of that list building strategy. Or if you're driving traffic from somewhere else, again, this is a good way of doing it. But again, if it's just by itself, it's essentially useless. So just keep that in mind. And I call kind of referring a friend a footer flow, because a footer flow is essentially something that you're going to put at the tail end of a pre-existing flow, example, rebate giveaways. And what that means is like they've already accomplished whatever it is that you wanted them to accomplish. And the footer flow is just like a little add-on at the end of it. There is a difference between a footer flow and an add-on flow. And essentially an add-on flow is something that's going to complement an existing flow, and a footer flow is something that's going to be attached at the end of an existing flow. I know they're very similar all in all, but those are the kind of terminologies I use. So if you hear me say, oh, this is a footer flow, then just know that that's something that you put at the end of your flow, or somewhere like at the tail end of the last conversation you're going to have with somebody, right? So if they just complete whatever you wanted them to complete, maybe it's a sign up flow or something, the tail end would be like, hey, now that you've completed the sign up process, would you like to refer somebody else, right? That's a footer flow where it's like they've completed the main thing that you wanted them to do, and then you're adding a little bit at the end, which is like extra, if you will. It's like the cherry on top of the cake, essentially. So the next thing is using a email list, like an already existing email list. Now, essentially, if you guys don't already have an email list, this won't apply to you at all. But for those of you that do have an email list, this will apply to you, because then you already have somewhere to start off with, and getting those leads from the email list to your ManyChat account isn't that complicated. All you really have to do is kind of mock up an email that's going to be like, hey, there's kind of two options. It's one, they're going to be signing up for a product rebate giveaway, right? So you're getting them to sign up. Or the other one is you're going to get them to sign up to your rebate giveaway program. Both methods work. I would say the product one works better, where you're actually getting them to sign up for a specific product, opposed to just getting them to sign up to a specific, like a club or like a VIP list. But again, they both work. And these are, I kind of already passed some of these links here, but I will pass you guys them right now in the chat. That way, if you guys want to have access to this, you can. Okay, there it is there. So essentially, in the webinar that goes over signup flows, I kind of already talk about a little bit of this. I don't talk about it particularly as much for an existing email list. But again, all it is you're grabbing that ref URL that's kind of generated in the first flow that they land on, and you put that inside like a button, or you can put it in like a, forget it, embedded inside like text, right? It's like a link that's embedded in text. You can do that as well. And that way, it's just an easy and seamless way for people to click on it, and then they go through the sign up process through ManyChat / Messenger, and you capture some of their information, whether that be their OTN, phone number. You could recapture their email, even though you technically, if you're using your email list, you already have their email. But ideally, you definitely would want to capture at least the OTN bare minimum, and then maybe phone number. If you can't use OTN or you don't want to use OTN, then you probably want to capture phone number. That way you can message them outside of the 24-hour rule and just kind of kickstart things off with an internal giveaway. Okay, so that's it for kind of email list. Very simple, not difficult at all. So now we're going to go into kind of the advanced ways. Now, the advanced ways might be kind of, because the basic ways in a way can be kind of considered as advanced, like using your existing email list is something that some may consider as advanced, or even referring a friend. To me, that's more of a basic thing. Advanced ways are something that will probably require a little bit more work, and is not something that you're going to see, I want to say, not anywhere else, but you're not going to see too often, at least not too many people talk about this. Lately, insert cards have been topic covered a little bit more. And I think that'll kind of continue to happen. But essentially there's these are the three ways I got. I got ManyChat solo ads, and I just call them solo ads because it's kind of an email marketing term, where you're using somebody's pre-existing list and messaging them, or they're messaging their list on your behalf, and you get to say kind of more or less whatever you want. And the whole point is like you're messaging somebody else's list on their they're messaging their list on your behalf saying, hey, XYZ page is about to run a rebate giveaway for X product. Would you like to join? And then they would click a link, which is really a ref URL, right? So they click a button, sends them to the other page. Then that other page is a sign up flow. They sign up to it, and then you're then later on able to run an internal giveaway. This is extremely useful if you have people in your network or you know people that have an audience similar to what you're trying to do, like launch. So if you're in, let's say, the skincare space and somebody else has something in the beauty space, right? Chances are they kind of go hand in hand. If you're like, hey, I'd love to, like, is there any way I could message your audience about my product that I'm about to launch? And that way you're not really, like, you'd probably have to pay them a little bit because chances are they'll have to run a sponsored message or a paid message. And it'll probably cost them like pennies, essentially. I think it's like about $20 per 1,000 messages sent. So in terms of like Facebook advertising, that's extremely cheap. If you get those leads instead of a Facebook ad, for example, you're going to save a crazy amount of money, and you're just bypassing the whole Facebook ad part. Okay, so that's solo ads kind of in a nutshell. I will actually have a template for you guys, and I will actually be installing kind of the template and going over how to install this for you guys. Just bear in mind that like you do need to know somebody with an existing list, and this is where kind of networking comes in extremely powerful, because again, if you know somebody, then there you go. You can even maybe message people in the group asking like, hey, if you have a list, let me know, and then try to work something out with them. Influencer marketing. Now, this is something, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go in a good amount of detail, as this is like a topic all in its own. But influencer marketing, essentially just getting people with some type of influence over a set of people, right? Like an audience, and then getting them to try to refer you to your rebate giveaways or, sign up process or whatever it may be. One thing I'll say about influencers is that social proof it means so much. I have two different kind of clients. One of them, we're kind of running I want to say a deal page, right? And then the other one, we're running it through the brand page. Now the brand page is kind of established. They post about products, they post about a lot of different things. And then the deal page is not as established, but we're starting to kind of post about the products we're launching and so on. And unfortunately, we don't have the best social proof on there. And the brand page, when we do like these kind of posts or we run advertising or anything like that, in terms of getting people to sign up, it's super easy. They come, and even influencers contact us. They're like, oh, I'd be interested. So it's super simple. But then on the deal page, it's much harder to just get influencers to come on board because, again, we don't have any social proof. They probably don't believe us, so on, right? Because you have to understand, like, coming at it from the influencer's perspective, it's a very scammy thing to say, hey, we're going to run a rebate giveaway. All you have to do is pay first. And then once it's shipped, we're going to rebate you, right? So it is kind of a scammy thing, even though as sellers, it's not, we know that it's not a scam. It's just as the users, they might see it that way. Okay, post-purchase. Now, the reason why I say post-purchase / inserts is because post-purchase, there are ways to kind of advertise to your audience without using kind of like an insert card. So if you have that information, that data, Amazon is a little bit more restricting. So you have to do some workarounds to get that information and then be able to build a custom audience inside of Facebook. But there are ways you can do that. And then that way you're able to retarget users that have purchased your product through a Facebook ad instead of doing an insert card. And that essentially is just another way for them to kind of opt into your flow. The method is kind of the same, or well, the outcome is the same, but the method is a little different, right? So the method of using advertising on Facebook in order to get leads to opt into your flow, or using a physical piece of paper of some sorts to get people to scan or type in a certain URL where they can then receive whatever the offer is on your insert card is. So there are many different strategies for kind of post-purchase. So some of the more common ones will be free gift, warranty, and then the last one I would say is kind of content related stuff. Like an example would be an ebook. I've done that with one client where he has these bottles, they're kind of consumable products, and it was just an ebook on kind of how to use the product and best practices and so on. That actually works quite well. We capture their emails. It's all done through ManyChat, and it's basically free unless you count the cost of making these things. But an ebook is just automatically transferable, and you can just keep sending emails out. Obviously, you have to pay for the subscription. We have a Klaviyo account, so obviously you're paying for that. But more or less, it's free compared to like a free gift where you would technically be paying X amount of dollars per lead because you have to give them something in return. So that can get a little expensive, especially if your gift is on this expensive side. So if you're doing a free gift, I would definitely try to recommend thinking of packaging that's really small, something easy to ship, because that's usually where the cost is. Like it's not even the free product itself, it's the shipping cost that gets to you. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so we're going to go into kind of solo ads, and this is the template I was talking about. So I'm going to give you guys that link right now. All right, so solo ads. I did kind of explain this a little bit already, but I'll just go over it again. Solo ad is essentially an email marketing term. And the reason why I call it ManyChat solo ad is because the concept is the same. You're essentially getting somebody to message their list on your behalf. And the whole point of this is to get people to sign up to your ManyChat account. Now, the way this will work, and again, I will be kind of doing an overview with you guys to show you how you would edit this for somebody or for yourself, is you're going to install it on page A and page B, this template that I gave you guys. And then what you're going to need to do is on page A, so this is the one that you're going to be broadcasting to try to get people on page B, is you're going to set up one flow, and that flow is going to have a clickable link inside the button. It's literally one message long. It's not long at all. One message long, has a button, and the button is a ref URL from page B. Now, page B ref URL is connected to the flow where it signs them up to the product, or even your sign up flows if you really want to, but ideally you'd want it to be a product related thing, right? So they're signing up to a product. And then that way you're able to just transfer the leads from page A to page B, capture the information from page B, and then later on be able to use those leads. And that's essentially ManyChat solo ads in a nutshell. And this is just kind of a term I've used. Again, you guys can name it whatever you'd like. It's just, in my opinion, the term that matches it well. And I've done this through quite a few different clients' accounts, right? Because they know each other. So it's like, hey, I'm about to do this. I see you have an audience. Like, would it be all right if I message here? And then we would just run kind of either a paid message or a broadcast of some sorts to page A, get leads to page B, and then run the rebate giveaway in page B. And that way you're not really paying for Facebook advertising unless you're doing a paid message, which then I guess in terms you do pay Facebook in a way, but nowhere near as expensive as Facebook advertising. Okay, so we got a few questions here. Currently doing that helps a lot. Okay. The gift product for rebate, the free gift. Yeah, I mean, rebate giveaways could be, I guess, a free gift in a way. It kind of depends on the wording you want to use, but yeah, it could definitely be a free gift. You can name it like that in terms of like a rebate giveaway. You could say, oh, this is a free gift, so on. You could, I think I understood the question. I'm hoping I might have maybe butchered that a little bit. I'm hoping I answered it properly though. Okay, so carrying on, if I didn't, just kind of maybe reiterate it a little bit more, and I'll get to it. So using influencer marketing, again, I wish I can go into a little bit more detail here, but this is really a topic all on its own. And this is something I'm sure that a lot of you guys were hoping to see more of. But unfortunately, this is really a topic all on its own. But using influencer marketing it's a lot of work. Like first of all, I'm just going to say it's a lot of work, and it's not as simple as I'm sure some people make it sound. Like they're just like, oh, just message a couple people and you're going to get some offers, and then just take the best leads, and then there you go. It's really a numbers game for one, is because you got to message a whole bunch of people in order to get a few people to say yes. And again, social proof is just, it's literally a game changer. It's like the difference between wearing like 50 pounds and trying to run a marathon and wearing, not like basically zero weights on you, and then trying to run that marathon. Of course, when you're wearing 50 pounds, it's going to be, much, 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 much harder. Okay, so here's kind of the three things I can give you guys, just kind of doing it myself and helping those do it. Um, Social proof, like I kind of already touched on this, but social proof is really, really big. Again, I got that example with the marathon running 50 pounds. If you don't have social proof and you're kind of starting a brand new account, it's such an uphill battle, compared to if you already have an established brand account, because again, they're going to be able to trust you a little bit more when it comes to like a brand page compared to a non brand pages like deal pages. So just bear that in mind, that like if you are doing a deal page, that you're going to have a significantly harder time, being able to utilize this, to the point where it might not be the most viable strategy for you. I'm not saying don't do it at all, but just know that it's going to be difficult. The second part is that having a great product makes this a lot easier too. So something that people can get behind. The influencer itself have to be able to actually get behind this, right? So it has to be relevant towards them for one, but for B, it also has to be a really good product that they can actually stand behind and say like, yeah, you know what, I actually use this and this is great and so on. Um, so realistically, as an Amazon seller, you always want to have a good product, but I feel like this obviously feeds into that too, where if you want to work with people to talk about your product, it has to be good, and it can't realistically be something cheap or something people wouldn't want to talk about. Okay, third thing is, again, I talked about it a little bit, is that influencers is really a number game. You're going to be messaging hundreds or, at least tens of 20s different accounts, maybe every day. And you're only going to get a couple yeses. You're going to get a lot of no's or no replies. So just bear that in mind, that it is a numbers game. It's not going to come easy. So that's essentially the three big points I wanted to talk about, just kind of influencers. And I do plan on at some point making kind of a webinar just dedicated towards just Instagram influencers and the strategy, kind of the messaging, the different type of scripts, maybe even give some resources to some agencies. I'm kind of looking a little bit into it to kind of find people that are able to just do the whole messaging back and forth and set things up. But yeah, that's going to be something probably way down the line. I don't see that coming anytime soon. It is a topic I would like to cover at some point, but right now I'm just, A, I'm not there yet, and B, it takes time to kind of get all of these things prepared. Okay, post-purchase. We are running, I feel like I'm talking fast too, but we're still running kind of late. I can tell I might not be able to cover everything perfectly here. Okay, post-purchase, insert cards. Now, this is kind of all a big thing, and I did talk about it a little bit, where there's three different type of inserts, and this is kind of the templates that we have right now. I do plan on kind of remaking them, so remaking slash, like, I'll make my own little beta versions. So that will come out, but if you guys are interested in just taking a look at kind of the insert cards we already do have, I would take a look right over here at kind of the free flows that we have. I, I think I'll leave it at that, because again, this is a topic that I actually want to cover all on its own, similar to influencers, because it's huge. I mean, we could talk about this for literally an hour, probably just by itself. So post-purchase is another way of building a list, and something that you would probably want to look into if your brand is situated to be there. If you're just brand new or getting started, I'd say this isn't something I would want to focus on. Like, maybe you can have some ideas of like, oh, maybe we should do an ebook. Oh, maybe we should couple this with this little gift. It's a free little thing. It's small, easy to ship, so on. So you can kind of have that in the back of your head. But if you're on the smaller side, like just getting started, I would say this is probably not what you want to start off with, just because um, it's a little bit more time consuming to set up. And again, there's a lot of moving pieces. So if you're just getting started, there are more important things, in my opinion, that you could be working on. Okay, so now I'm going to go over kind of editing the refer a friend template. So I'm going to basically go like step by step into how to kind of edit this and put this inside your rebate giveaway flows. There are more use cases for this, but I'm just going to be giving you guys the kind of rebate automation version and how to do this. So essentially, this is the link, and I did pass it already inside the chat. So I'm just going to go through this. I might have to stop sharing right now just to kind of install it on a page and not show all the credentials. So I'll just stop sharing for just a minute here. And I'm just going to pick the page here, and then I'll share again. Okay, so let me share the screen again. Okay, here we go. So now we're at step 3. I just chose the page, didn't do anything crazy. I always like to just take a look at the merged fields. Nothing crazy here, so we're just gonna hit install. And now it's going to kind of ask us what the rebate giveaway program name is. I'm just gonna leave it be. And now it also asks for the refer a friend share link. Now this is the link that you want to be giving people. This is essentially the ref URL that you want to be giving people that is linked to your signup flows. Let me just check because I don't believe I actually have a signup flow in this Seller.Tools account. I don't think I do. So just for now, just pretend like I do. What you would do is you would have the sign up flow. So if you didn't already have one, what you would want to do is you would want to install that template. And again, these templates can all be found inside the Google document right here. So just give you guys access to that really quickly here. Oops. Okay, let me go well. There we go. Okay, so the Google document, the sign up flows are essentially right over here. There are kind of 2 different sign-up flows. The one you would want to be linking to is the rebate program sign-up flow right here. And essentially this comes with like a little ref URL, and that ref URL that's linked to kind of the first flow that they opt in from, that's the ref URL you want to be using right over here. Okay. So just assume that I have a link here. Okay. So we're just going to put link.com as an example here. And now when you go into kind of your main folders, you're going to see the refer a friend right here. And then essentially the way you go about editing this, I mean, I'll be really honest, you basically don't need to do anything in terms of editing here. One thing you can do is just take a look at how things are structured just to kind of understand how the flow works, but it's very, very simple. Essentially, the users, once they come into this flow, and again, this is a footer flow, so you have to imagine that they're coming in from somewhere and then they get straight sent to this flow. And this condition right here determines what message they're going to get or receive, I should say, right off the bat. So if it's right after a rebate giveaway, I would recommend changing the this custom field right here to rebate giveaway. And that way it's going to message them, oh, thanks for participating. If it's right after they've signed up, then you can actually message them right here saying, oh, thanks for signing up to a rebate giveaway process. Looking for more product testers, would you be interested in sending them? So there are 3 kind of different messages you can start them off with. And then after that, it's going to ask them how they would like to refer somebody. And essentially there are just 2 ways they can refer somebody. There's the first way, which is giving them a clickable link, which again, this is the ref URL. So remember how I showed like link.com. Well, this is where the link will come up, right? So the ref URL would come up here, and then they can copy that message and send it to whoever they're trying to refer to, or they get this link right here where they're actually able to essentially forward this to somebody else, right? Like when you receive things in Messenger, there's like these 3 little, or receive cards in Messenger, there's these 3 little share buttons, and you're able to kind of share that to somebody. And those are the 2 ways that they can refer somebody, and then they can let you know if they've referred somebody, and it just thanks them. Theoretically, you could add more to this if you really wanted to. And I do encourage you guys to maybe take a look at this and then edit the scripts to match your branding / goals. That way it's kind of a unique spin on your referring friends. So how to actually set this up after a rebate giveaway? Really simple. So I'm just going to go in kind of one of the demo bots here. And this is essentially these rebate giveaway versions are also found on that Google document. So you'd find that kind of if you scroll up at the top, you find all the different rebate giveaway versions right here. So, all right, so let's go back over here. So we're gonna hit edit. And again, this is a footer flow. So you wanna be putting this at the tail end. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna actually be putting it right after they receive their rebate message right here. It opts them. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. It actually gets them to go through, because by default, okay, so this is the demo bot. So essentially this is built a little bit different than the actual template version, but usually it goes like this. And it sends them through this kind of looping process to then ask for a review. What you would want to do in this particular case is you actually would want to go right before this process right here, where it's kind of trapped in a looping process of waiting for them to, or waiting so you can actually request a review via Amazon, right? So, okay, so what you want to do right before that is you probably want to do a smart delay of roughly, like, I would say like 1 hour, maybe 2 hours. I'm just going to do 1 hour in this example. And then you would want to copy, you would want to change the condition. Remember how I was saying there's a action, or there's a custom field, and that determines what message they're going to get, the first message. So you want to change that. And let me just go back into, let me refresh the page here. So we'll want to change that. I'm just making sure that I get the right one here. So refer custom field. Okay. So just copy that. And then I want to go set custom fields. And I got to pick the right custom fields right here. And I believe it's rebate giveaway. And I'll just double check just to make sure I don't mess this up here. Yeah, see how it says rebate giveaway? Okay, so that's the right one. So it's going to change that custom field. Like after, it's going to wait an hour, change that custom field. Then it's going to send them the flow right here, which we're going to select right now. And that way, this is essentially what it like exactly what a footer flow looks like, right at the tail end of the main objective, which is in this case giving them the rebate. You're asking them to if they'd be interested in referring a friend, and then you'd want to connect this afterwards, like back to your looping process, so that way you are requesting a review at some point. But if you didn't want to request a review, then I guess you would leave it like this. So that's it for kind of setting this up. It's really, really simple. Essentially, footer flows usually 9 times out of 10 will look like this, where it's like a time delay, and then it sends them to a flow. In this case, there's this particular action block just to determine what message they're going to get. And the reason why I did that, it just made more sense than having like 3 different flows and having 3 different messages at the start of each flow. I just decided, okay, I'm going to make a custom field here. And then in the flow before the footer flow, it's going to determine what message they get at first. And this just makes it a little easier because everything's in kind of one flow. Like your refer a friend is all in one flow instead of having like 3 different refer a friend flows, like one after rebates, one after here, one after this. So I just made it so here. And you can even add additional conditions if you wanted to. Like you can have it referring them after they've done XYZ, and then change the messaging to match whatever type you want. So I think that essentially covers it kind of for referring a friend. I'm hoping that there is no kind of questions there. I know this is a little fast. I don't have the immense amount of time I was hoping for at this point. So if there's no questions, yeah. So if there's any questions, let me know, because I'd like to jump onto the next one. Difficult to follow as the screen is a bit jumpy. Okay. So let me try to reiterate it a little bit. Okay, so essentially you need to install the template. That's the kind of the first step, is you need to install this template. The next thing you're going to want to do is edit the template to match your goals, your branding, so on. And you don't necessarily need to do that, but I would recommend it. And then you want to make sure that the ref URL that is your sign up flow, right? So in this little instructions right here, you can see that the sign up flow link is right here. So if you don't already have the sign up flow, you're going to want to do that ahead of time or do it right after. And then put that ref URL inside that bot field that we talked about, which is the refer a friend share link. If you're not sure where to find that, it's very simple. You would go in the settings, then you go in fields, then you go bot fields, and then I'm just going to hit Control F, refer a friend share link. Okay, so there it is here. And you'd replace this with whatever ref URL it is that is your signup flow. If you're not sure how to do the sign up flow, again, there's another webinar kind of going into that. So I would recommend watching that and then coming back to this, and hopefully that all makes sense. The next thing you want to do to actually set up the referring a friend is you would go into kind of your rebate giveaway flow or whatever tail end flow that you want to. I'm just using rebate giveaways as an example here because it's one of the best places to actually put a refer a friend flow. I've gotten really good results using that and growing lists, just doing that. You run internal giveaways and then you just do that and you could grow a list. So then you're going to want to grab that kind of last message right here. This is where they actually get the rebate itself. And these are the new templates, by the way. So the old templates may not look exactly the same, but the concept is the same. So after a certain set point, right at the tail end of X thing that you're trying to get them to do, you then would go next step right here at the kind of bottom here. And then you would make a 1 hour delay or whatever delay you want. It doesn't have to be an hour. It could be a couple minutes if you wanted it to be. It could be like 5 minutes or something. And then you want to set a custom field, right? This field right here, refer a friend first content type. And this will just determine what message they're about to receive when they do get this refer a friend. In this case, it's going to be like, oh, thanks for participating in a rebate giveaway. You know, we really appreciate it. We're still looking for more XYZ and so on. And then that is essentially it. This is really the three things you need to make the footer flow work. You just want to make sure that the footer flow, or at least the refer a friend flow, matches your goals, and it actually has a sign up flow linked to it, right? That ref URL has been talking about. And then you'd want to hit publish. In my case, I'm not actually going to hit publish because I plan on removing these changes, but in your case, you'd probably want to hit publish. Okay. I'm hoping I answered it well. I'm sorry for like talking really fast and going like back and forth. It's just time is a little restricting in terms of like compounding all this in like 1 hour. It's somewhat difficult. The next thing we're going to go over is ManyChat solo ads. Now this is actually a little bit more complex than referring a friend. So let's dive into this and hopefully I'm able to explain it quite well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for sensitive information reasons.
Just while you're doing that real quick, and I know you're trying to cover a lot of ground, which is awesome, but it's important, I think, for everybody who's with us, because Tyler has already built all of the flows and you have all the links. Just make sure you do have that. It's sort of like, you know, if you've got the resource in hand, I know that would be helpful. And if you come back to this or if you have any questions too, we can make sure to tackle those. But making sure you have the resources is a huge part of the equation. If you have the car, it's always, I like to say, we try to give you the keys to the car, and then we try to support you. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, that's exactly it, guys. So like a lot of this is like you guys literally have the flows that have taken me. I don't want to say that like taken me years, but it's essentially years of me improving them over time. Don't get me wrong, it didn't take me actually a year to make these flows, but just like it took me a long time, and then I refined it over time to make it more and more optimized. So just keep that in mind. So again, I'm at step 3, and I always like to just kind of take a look at the merge tags. In this case, you can see there's little parentheses, or not parentheses, but quotation marks. And this is something that usually I only do that if you actually want to be changing that to match your product name, or in this case, an audience name. The reason why I have an audience tag name is so that way you know how many leads are coming from a particular audience. So again, this is solo ads. So you want to be knowing how many leads came from X page or X person. Okay, so we're going to hit install. Now this template, I will say, is quite a bit harder to edit compared to referring a friend. Like referring a friend is just one flow, couple things to edit. This one, as you can see, is 9 flows. There's quite a few things to edit. So I'll be doing my best to kind of go over this, but just keep in mind that this is very advanced and this isn't something that you're going to basically see anywhere. I've never heard of somebody talk about this, but maybe there are some. But yeah, so let's kind of get into the editing process here. And essentially, once you bring in the template, you just go into automation, and your flow, the folder is going to be right here, or wherever it is for you. I like to kind of emoji everything, so it's really easy to find. And now we're going to actually start editing this. Everything with an astromerix means that it needs to be edited. anything without an asterisk right at the start of it, that means it doesn't need to be edited. So keep that in mind that you like some of these flows are not utility, but they're there to do certain steps and there's no need to edit them. Of course, you can go in there and edit them to match your branding / goals, but I wouldn't do it. But then again, you can do whatever you please. So remember, the way this works is that you would need to install this template on 2 accounts, your page A and page B. Page A is the one that's going to be broadcasting and letting them know, or the audience know about page B running a rebate giveaway. So in this example, we're going to pretend that I installed this on 2 different pages. Obviously, it's not the case, but we're just going to pretend, and I'll show you guys how to go about this. So what I'll do is I'm just going to kind of make, okay, so there's only one flow that this one right over here. See this flow right here? This is the only flow you need for page A. So I'm just going to put this inside a different folder, inside the main folder. And essentially page A only needs one flow. Page B, on the other hand, needs quite a few different flows because you're going to be signing them up to your rebate giveaway or your rebate program. So keep that in mind. Now I'm going to work on page A first. So just pretend like this is page A. And this is going to be page B. Okay, so we have page A and page B. This is page A goes here, page B goes here. Okay, so in page A, there's only really one flow. When you install the entire template, it'll obviously bring in all the other flows, but you can just ignore them. All you need is this one flow. So this one flow is very simple. All you have to do is you can edit the scripts to match whatever page name you want to do. So in this case, it's like, hey, quick shout out, just letting you know we partnered with a new product presser page, and this is page name here. So you would want to put page B, whatever the name is here. And again, you can change this. You don't have to be like, oh, I want to make it exactly how Tyler does it. You can change this as much as you want. I just made it like this. So you'd be saying, okay, what is page B? So I'm just going to pretend again, page B is going to be Seller.Tools. And then the button right here, this is really important. You need to insert the ref URL from page B. So how do we get page B? So we're just going to pretend again. Let me just go to page B here. And the ref URL from page B is going to be in the signup flow, which is right over here. This little mailbox that has its little door open. And page A will have the mailbox that has the door shut. So just bear that in mind. So we'll edit. We'll click this, we'll click that, and then we get this little ref URL right here, copy it, go over here. We'll paste that inside the button right over here. So now that's going to bring them from page A to page B. That's what's kind of the link. And then we'd hit save. And now how you get this message in front of people, because obviously you can't just broadcast this to people because they'd be outside of the 24-hour rule in most cases. So you'd want to probably do either a paid message, which again is going to be another topic on its own. Sorry, there's like just a lot to talk about in terms of ManyChat stuff. Paid message is one. A OTN is another one. So if you do have OTN to be able to message your leads, again, you could use that if you really want to. Or you can even do a text message, right? So in this example, it's just for Messenger. But if you really wanted to, you can easily go like this, make a SMS, and then you would just copy paste all the scripts. So you would just copy paste all of this, right? You go like copy, paste that over here. Okay, well, it didn't paste in properly. Copy, and then you would just paste that over here, and then you'd make a button, which would be really a link. You'd say open this, and then you would grab the ref URL right here, and then you would just copy this. Okay, there it is right there. Okay, so really simple. If you really wanted to do a text message instead of SMS, you could do that. It's not something that you necessarily need to do. I just wanted to let you guys know that it is something you can do. So assuming that we're maybe going to use just the regular messenger here, we're just going to hit publish. The next thing we're going to want to do over here, which is on page B, right? So we actually want to edit this kind of landing page instructions right here. So essentially what we want to do is, thanks for showing interest in our product name. So essentially we're going to want to name whatever the product name is right here. So just I don't have anything off the top of my head, but you would, whatever your product is that you're mentioning maybe in page A, which would obviously be something you probably want to mention right here. So it's this product name. You want to mention your product here. So whatever the product is that you're mentioning or you plan on doing a rebate giveaway for, you'd want to change that name right over here, as well as changing it over here on page B as well. So obviously change the scripts to match your product name. And then that's essentially it for this. It does also say you want to be changing kind of the rebate giveaway program. This is kind of alternative scripts, what it is essentially it, where if you wanted to just sign people up to your rebate giveaway program, you can use these scripts instead of these ones. So what that would look like is you just copy this and then you would paste it here. In this case, I'm not going to do that, but it just let you guys know that is an option. So the next thing we want to do, and by the way, as you're editing these, I would highly recommend you remove the astromerics as you're like done doing this. So then that way you know, okay, I finished editing this one. Okay, let's edit this one. And it's just easier for your team as well as yourself to follow along what you need to edit. Now this one here actually, like it basically is like the frequently asked questions, if you will. So you can of course change what the frequently asked questions are. And you can also, let me refresh the page here. Just because it looks like it was missing a tag for some reason. Whenever you see like a little glitch like that, just refresh your page, it usually fixes it. So you can obviously change the questions right here and add additional ones or change the ones that you're messaging. So an example right here would be like, instead of saying, oh, we give away a wide range of products, maybe you say, oh, we give away a range of products in XYZ brand, or we give away products in skincare space, or whatever it may be for your particular goals. I just made this so that way it encompasses kind of everybody and not just the skincare space or beauty space or the home and kitchen, so on, right? So just bear that in mind. You might want to take a look at these scripts and change it to match your goals. By default, you don't have to really do anything here, but again, I would recommend going into it and just editing things to match your goals. Okay, so we're almost there, guys. We have one more flow and then we're basically good to go. Now this one here actually requires you to do quite a few different edits here. And most of it is actually in the back end, which is in the settings. The first one being editing this tag to match the audience that it's coming from. So whatever page name A is, whatever that kind of name would be. So in our case, we could just say Seller.Tools 1. We'd say, okay, audience is coming from Seller.Tools 1, and they're getting this specific tag. So that way you're actually able to track how many people came from whatever page A would be. And the other thing you're going to want to do is also change your OTN here to match the product name. So right now, by default, it's set to product name rebate giveaway. And I'm going to show you guys how to edit those two things right now. So essentially, in terms of finding that tag I talked about and then the OTN topic, you need to go into settings. Then we're going to do the tag first. So then you need to go into right below automation and tags. And then it's going to be right over here in this case. And if you're not able to find it like this, you just go Control F and then you would hit audience and then it'll come up. But in my case, it was right at the start. So I would just name this Seller.Tools 1, right? So that'd be like page A name, or actually we'll actually take this in page A. Okay, so now we've changed the audience name. We want to change the OTN topic to match whatever product name that we're doing. So in this case, you have to click this. Okay, settings, then you can automations. You scroll down right actually below tags. Actually, it's just two below it. You go OTN topics, and then you want to hit this little pencil mark, and then you just want to change whatever the product name is to whatever the product name that you're going to be using is. And this just helps you, essentially target people when it comes to broadcasting. You're able to target the people that just signed up and not confuse people that haven't signed up to this specific product. And that's it for those kind of two edits, which is like this one right over here and this one right over here. And this is also a good place to have your list management. Extremely important. I say it's an optional step, but really it should be an instruction. And this is where you'd want to put your kind of list management flow, whatever that may be, whether it's the days list divider or it's the kind of list management. In my case, I'll just use list management as an example. Essentially, it would look like that. So, and this is another place, believe it or not. We just literally just finished talking about it, but right here, I say it's an optional step to have a footer flow. And in here, I say it's a good idea to have a refer a friend flow or a buyer score flow. So in this case, I'll talk about the refer a friend flow. And all that would look like is like this. You would literally say, okay, time delay. And we'll just kind of do with the other example we had here, 1 hour, and then an action, which it would be changing the that custom field to give it a good message. Content, I think it was content type. Yeah, here it is here. Now I actually have to look at what content type I'd have to message here. I'm going to say sign up. Let me just take a look here so I don't throw you guys off here at all. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a look at what my refer a friend flow here is. So that way I can get them the right message. And I want to give them this one right here. So I need to give it a after signing up to rebate giveaway. Signing up to rebates. So let me just type that in. After sign up. All right, I don't think it says, I think it was just giveaway. Let me just double check. After signing up, okay, signing up. Signing up to rebate. Okay, perfect. So now that's going to essentially make it so they get this as the content type right after. And what I'll do is you need to link it to the right flow here. And now we're utilizing that footer flow that we talked about previously, which is like, as you're getting people to sign up from page A, you're now going to ask them, hey, would you have anybody else in mind for this rebate giveaway? And that way you're signing people up and getting more signups, so that you can see this kind of working really, really like hand in hand with each other. And then we'd hit publish. And again, this part right here, guys, you don't have to do. Like I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. So the next thing, we're just going to remove the astromerics, and that's it, guys. Like we've edited everything here. Now, of course, anything with the cogwheel, by the way, is just something you don't need to edit. I only use the cogwheel for that. But anything, you can take a look at these and then match your scripts, or match your goals, your branding, so on. I'm not actually going to go into these flows because again, we are kind of running already a little late. So if you want to take the time to look at them, I encourage you to. But I'm not going to be able to do that just kind of in this call. I'm hoping that the ManyChat solo ads made sense here, and you guys are able to use it, or at least somewhat comfortable in using it. This isn't for everybody because again, not everybody has like the network of, oh, do you have a ManyChat account? Oh, do you have a ManyChat account? But if you do, if you know certain sellers, like Troy kind of said in the start of the call, like you can always refer to this too, and then talk, like, let's say, hey, look, I saw this great resource. We could probably share our lists. If you want more information, check out this webinar. Bam. Now you're giving them access to this so they understand the concept of it, and then you're able to maybe even share your lists together. I've done that with one client where he literally, they partnered up. They say, oh, like, why don't we just say the same message to both audiences and then try to give each other leads? And that actually worked out quite well. I think they grew their list. One person grew their list 1,500 and the other one grew their list about 1,200, maybe 1,000. Which doesn't seem like a crazy amount, but in terms, like they only had, like, I think one of them had 3,000 and the other one had 4,000 or 5,000. Anyways, they it's all free leads essentially, more or less. Anyways, you might have to do a paid message if you don't have OTN, or you're not going to, or if you want to use SMS, for example. But it's more or less free. I don't want to say it is free, but it very low cost compared to running a Facebook ad, for example. Okay, I think I'm done talking at bullet point speed here. So I think in terms of just conclusion to kind of building lists, guys, I give you guys 6 really, really good ideas. Not all of them you need to use. Example, like maybe influencers is something you can think of, but you're like, you know what, there's a lot of work there. And XYZ, I don't think it's going to match my kind of goals right now. The ones I would highly recommend you do is referring a friend. If you're running rebates, I mean, that one's just absolutely necessary. Like, maybe not necessary, but I think it's just a waste if you don't do it, because it's like, man, you already have the person there. You might as well use it. Solo ads is something that you guys could like kind of look at and maybe see people in the community and be like, hey, man, like, or XYZ. Like, I think, if they have an audience and you're like, oh, I'd love to broadcast, okay, that's a good idea for you guys. So yeah, those are the 6 ways, more or less. So let's see if we got any questions here. Okay, awesome. So it doesn't appear like we have any questions. Please share feedback. Okay, so that was Troy. Yeah, so I don't think we have any questions, which is awesome. One thing I want to give you guys here is just access, and I didn't talk about it. I was kind of bullet point talking too. If this stuff seems too complex for you guys, like if you guys like the idea of it, but you don't necessarily want to do it yourselves, maybe the ManyChat aspect is a little more intimidating, highly recommend you go through the kind of Seller.Tools experts and you find somebody that you want to work with, or maybe message a few of them and get some quotes, so on, and work with them. Like even if they don't necessarily like know exactly, oh, what's refer a friend, like you can easily say, okay, hey, take a look at this webinar. Tyler goes through it, and they'll easily be able to edit this. This is by no means something ridiculously alien to them, and they will be able to take this and then implement it for you, or maybe make some edits for you, maybe make some templates so that way it can match your branding, right? So maybe you see the way I've done it and you're like, I don't necessarily like this. I want to change this, but I'm not sure how. I want to add this. I don't know how. You can hire somebody to do that for you. So I would highly encourage that if you guys want to do this stuff, but you're just not very, very comfortable in the ManyChat aspect, that you take the time to just go through the kind of Seller.Tools expert list and find somebody that you want to work with or matches your kind of your ideals, and then bam, now you have somebody to help you out with kind of the ManyChat stuff. And before, I think
Quick thing too, because I noticed this in the chat, Tyler. The link I just sent here, and I'll just send just the straight link. I know I sent the text about. Would always welcome everybody who joins to feel free to engage on that post. It's just an opportunity again to share thanks, your feedback, as well as what I wanted to mention, because Tyler's dropped like a dozen ManyChat flows, which is great,
yeah.
but I know there may be some questions. Feel free to drop the names of some of those flows in this thread. Tyler and I, Tyler, let's just keep an eye on that, and we can use that for potentially expanding on another call. So I think it's great.
Like what do you mean, like dropping a name of the flow that they want to use, or names of flows they want to see?
The ones that you've already shared today,
Oh, okay.
that maybe they just want a little bit more time kind of breaking down.
Yeah. If we see like there's a good amount of demand, I'm sure we can make like an overview, maybe going into it a little bit more detail. I know these webinars, I try to cover quite a few different things, in as much detail as I can. Obviously, I couldn't go into like everything in super detail, like example, like influencers or insert cards, but I'm trying. So
Right. All right. And I just dropped that link again, just a reminder. So it's actually in the comments. I'm noticing now, it wasn't in the body of the post, but it has on there. You can join live here. That's going to take you through. Of course, we have to do it through a ManyChat flow, right? But through that flow, you can, and you probably did register for attendance, but you can also tap into the replays. That would include some that Tyler has already shared today, and then those that we've already done too. So feel free to take advantage of those.
I'd highly recommend, like if this is maybe your first time, or maybe you've seen some of the webinars, but not all of them, I'd highly recommend trying to go through the ones you haven't seen yet, because not only are these webinars kind of stacked on top of each other, meaning like the information from webinar, like let's say 2, is going to kind of come through in webinar 4 or 5 or wherever down the line, right? Internal giveaways is literally something that I will talk about probably continuously down the line because of how pivotal it is to everything else. Like if you don't have that foundation, then building upon it doesn't really make sense. I'm not saying I will talk about internal giveaways every single time. Like there are some topics that, may not cover internal giveaways at all, but whenever you're dealing with sign up flows or building a list or so on, internal giveaways is like a pivotal piece of like understanding how to use your audience. Because everybody talks about building an audience and how to do it and all this stuff, but nobody really goes into like actually how to use your audience smartly and effectively inside ManyChat. It's just like build a list, get emails, and then you say, okay, well, what am I going to use this email list for? So just keep that in mind, that again, like try to watch all the webinars, if not, maybe not all of them, because some of them might not pertain to you specifically. Example, if we do insert cards and you don't want to do that, then obviously you don't need to watch it, but try to watch some of the more basic ones like sign up flows, internal giveaways. So yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah. I also, inside the Google document, this is kind of like where we're holding them all at some point soon. I don't know when. It most likely these beta flows will end up on the actual Seller.Tools kind of ManyChat flows page. But for now, this is where we're holding them all. And I put a new little, I guess, parentheses new and some of the templates that I've added just recently. I plan on adding some more, and I think I'll probably end up adding, like, let's say, um, I know that somebody was excited about this last call. I plan on maybe adding kind of the meta instructions. I might not be able to talk about this for another 5 weeks or something like that, just because I have other topics that I want to cover way before this. But the templates might be available. But the actual video or webinar for them won't be like it won't be coming out anytime soon. Of course, you guys can download the templates and take a look at it. And if you see the build structure of my kind of other previous templates, you'll notice that they're very similar and that you're able to just kind of follow along and edit it. Especially if you're comfortable in ManyChat, it's not going to be very complex. These ones here are by no means complex at all. In fact, I'd argue, running ManyChat solo ads is more complex than those ones. Those ones there are just like add-ons to pre-existing rebate giveaway flows that just tell users to do a certain extra steps before purchasing the product, which, yeah. And I also plan on, hopefully, I'd like to get this done sometime soon, but I don't know when. Insert cards is another one that I'd like to do. So yeah, these are some of the ideas I got. I didn't put them all down here, but I put quite a few of them down that I want to do. Okay, I think that kind of
That's it.
covers. Yeah, I think that covers it. I don't see any kind of questions, which is awesome. But yeah,
Awesome. Great session as always, Tyler. I appreciate you breaking everything down. If there is any other questions, again, feel free to access that link. Join us in FBA Kings, our Facebook group. Let Tyler know if you appreciated it or not, or any feedback for him, questions you have for us. And we'll continue to, and Tyler will continue to kind of gear the content around where those questions lie. So
yeah. And if you guys have flows or some type of sequences that you guys would like to see, I know, like, let us know. I'm open to kind of making things. So just keep that in mind, that we are kind of listening and we are taking your feedback fairly seriously in regards to just kind of improving Seller.Tools. We got a lot of things in the pipeline. I'm sure Troy's excited to kind of release those. And I'm excited to just kind of see things running because I use this myself too. So yeah.
yep, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of exciting stuff ahead. Cool.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Great seeing you all. Thank you, Tyler, for everything you put together. Getting it all ironed out for us. All very important strategies to know.
All right. All right, guys.
Excellent.
Peace. Take it easy.
Bye-bye. Have a great
We'll
day.
talk next week. Yep. You too.